Things in the box.
Yeah.
Check, check, check. All right, I'm good.
You good?
Hey,
All
everybody. Sorry for that. We're having some technical difficulties. That's actually what the TD in Top Deck Production stands. It's TDP for technical difficulties.
Technical difficulty productions.
So we have Robert Meadows back for round 3 here. You guys may have remembered he sort of beat on a Goblins player to death in round 1. Sort of a new player and playing sort of a deck he wasn't super familiar with. But anyway, he's back here. We want to see this deck in action, so we brought it back.
We wanted to see it against Black-White Eldrazi in Texas, or just any Texas deck in general.
Yeah, this is going to be probably a really interesting matchup.
Yeah.
It's going to be probably a little grindy.
Yeah.
It's going to be heavy with interaction.
Yeah.
Especially if we see an Aether Vial out of Zach. We're going to see a lot of instant speed play. But I'm excited.
I am too. This will probably be like the first interactive match we've actually had today.
Zach is probably Zach, I guess, doesn't know what Robert's on yet, but Zach really likes to disrupt people's mana and spells, and this is a 3-color spell deck. So I'm interested. Turn one Renegade procced by the Mishra's Bauble is interesting.
Yeah.
Not a bad play by Robert, I guess.
Yeah. Zach leading off with an Eldrazi Temple, maybe hoping to draw. Didn't look to see any displaces or anything in his hand.
I wonder if you lead like that because you have turn 2 Thought Knot, do you think?
I don't see another Temple in his hand, nor do I see Thought Knot. Maybe it's foil. Maybe it's that foil card right there. Draws a swamp.
Looks like he's got Caves of Koilos in hand.
I see caves. I see a concealed courtyard, which is what I would normally lead with.
Yeah, I usually like to conceal the temple until you can drop the Thought Knot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes your opponent just don't. Okay, so Arbiter's not bad. In fact, if Robert didn't know what Zach was on, sometimes you can get him with the Arbiter because they're like, oh, Temple, he's probably on Eldrazi Tron or Bant Eldrazi, where you're not expecting to see the Arbiter. So maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Zachary kept kind of a land-heavy hand here as well. I see a path. I see caves. We see a Cavern of Souls, and we see a basic swamp as well. Robert could just play a game where he just deploys multiple threats, and then he removes Zach's only threat, and then Zach's just kind of left doing nothing.
Sure. So like we talked about earlier, I assume Zach has some number of Thalias in the main board.
Yeah.
I would love to see. I would have loved to see this. If this Arbiter were a Thalia instead of an Arbiter, I would love to see it make that Bauble cost 1 mana. But maybe that interaction will come up later.
Yeah, yeah. Looks like Robert's kind of his hand. I see a Remand. I don't really see much in the way of decent interaction. And Zachary has a Cavern of Souls. So
the Cavern is really big here.
Yeah.
Tough for Robert to beat. Now, interestingly, I imagine Zach's Eldrazi. Now, there's a lot of ways to play Black-White Eldrazi in Taxes. It's not always clear what to name with it, and it's not like all of his creatures now become uncounterable. He obviously named Eldrazi and is going to make this Displacer, but there are certainly non-Eldrazi creatures in the deck.
Yeah, that's the issue with playing a card like Cavern of Souls in this type of deck. The general mix of the 2 creature types in this is Eldrazi and human. Between Thalia and Leon, or I guess Leon and Arbiter is a cat, but
he might even have Tide Hollow Scholar as a zombie. You know? So yeah, Cavern of Souls is not a slam dunk like it is in some other decks here, but still good. Making that
good right now.
Yeah, and I guess that Robert probably didn't want to counter that anyway because he needed to pay 2 mana to fetch his fetch land here at end of turn through the Arbiter. So
yeah, again, not having a removal spell for the Arbiter does slow you down a ton.
Yeah, when it definitely telegraphs that you have none, because when you have those fetch lands, you see him come down, you know he's not got anything if he's having to pay. So
yeah. And Robert forced to remand this Path to Exile, and drawing a fetch land off of the remand.
Jeez.
I think he has 2 fetch lands in hand.
Yeah, so remanding a path doesn't seem great, but for those of you who may have missed it, he could not have searched for a land there. Well, he could have, but it would have taken his whole turn, just like casting the remand.
Yeah.
So
I like Lumbering Falls in this deck.
yeah, I do too. It's a really good man land. It's too bad that it doesn't have hexproof on the actual land, because then it could get through Ghost Quarter and stuff. But still a great land. I'm a big fan of that here. Probably not as good as Raging Ravine though.
No, but Raging Ravine and Celestial Colonnade are like the pinnacle.
Well, right after Stirring Wildwood. Obviously Colonnade's the best, and you can build entire decks around Colonnade.
Yeah.
But I think Stirring Wildwood's great. 3 mana for a 3/4, and reach is super relevant. This format is vastly underprepared for flyers.
Absolutely, I would agree with that as well. I think Stirring Wildwood is good because its activation cost for what it is. A 3/4.
I mean, 3 for a 3/4 is just so efficient.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the decks that play with Noble Hierarch.
Yeah.
That guy's a 4/5, a 5/6 for 3 mana.
Yeah.
Pretty relevant.
I'll tell you what's the best man land though.
What's that?
Treetop Village.
Treetop Village was about 3 years ago. People were still playing that. 2 years ago, people were still playing that in Jund. I mean, it's a hell of a card.
Yeah.
2 mana for a 3/3 Trampler.
People still play that in the black-green.
Sure, like in the rock.
Yeah.
The thing about that card, thank you, Westy 337 for the follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
The thing about Treetop is it's a great attacker and even an okay blocker. It's just that it's a tapped green source and it's not dual colored. It's just got one color on it. So
that's powerful. I actually think though that the black-green decks have started to move towards like 2 Hissing Quagmires.
I don't like Hissing Quagmire, but I can see why people play it. It's nice against Shadow and Tassigers and
it is a removal spell on a body is nice.
But Treetop Village, tramples over Lingering Souls tokens for days. Oh, and so we do have the Tide Hollow Scholar, right? So here's another creature that is not relevant for this cavern naming Eldrazi.
He has all those mana requirements, so I feel like now it's just a colorless source and he doesn't really care.
Sure.
He has the Path. Now he can't cast the Path, which is annoying. Looks like he's got an Aether Vial in his hand as well, which drawing an Aether Vial off curve like this is very
it's almost straight card disadvantage.
Yeah.
It's like you literally didn't have a draw
Lost
step.
So much tempo. Now it's not to say like later in the game after you do play this vial that it doesn't come, because like we said this is probably going to be a grindy game.
Yeah, if he plays it now this next turn and then gets it up to 4 and uses it later for a key Restoration Angel play or something, that could be neat.
Yeah.
But so Robert does have the removal spell now.
He has Electrolyze, but
I feel like you have to get this Arbiter off the table, but you also want to get your V-Click back with that Electrolyze, so I don't know.
We're getting the Caminos rankings of
of the manlands. What does he say? So he says Colonnades first, right?
No, he says Ravines first.
No way.
Ravine is really good.
Well, I will say, I trust Billy Camina's opinion to the death, so I'll buy it, but I don't know.
I mean, I just like green-red more so than blue-white, I'll be honest with you, so I'm kind of biased in that regard.
All right.
And I think Billy would agree with that as well. Billy honestly just wants to be casting Amulet of Vigor, though.
Or Hakon's your night loam guy.
Oh my, yeah.
How do you say that guy's? It's Hoken, right? You say it
Hoken.
I believe we learned that the name is actually Hoken.
Hoken.
That's the pronunciation.
Yeah. Regardless, he just wants to be casting Primeval Titan. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. So going for 4/5 now.
Yep. But again, Eldrazi Displacer is really good. Like, it is a very good card. Zachary Harris has a Path to Exile. He's got, Eldrazi Displacer. Really, all he can sit here and do is just start beating down for 5. Let's path that Goyf, and let's just start flickering everything else.
Sure, why not? I'm actually really surprised that Robert went for the Arbiter instead. So Zach was tapped out last turn and could not flicker anything, and Robert went for the Leonin Arbiter instead of the Tide Hollow. He had a fetch land in play, so he wants to get that extra mana and not have to pay for it. But gosh, I feel like you just want your V-Click back.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
I'm wondering why Zachary left this. Why he left the displacer back. You're not blocking with it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Well, there's maybe I can see an argument to block. Well,
I
to
don't.
block the Narn. Yeah, but you can't. You don't want to block the Narn because you have to have that blink effect for the
Like
next few turns.
yeah,
so
it's
like
just-
it's invaluable.
It's absolutely the best thing on the board.
Yeah.
By a mile. My favorite interaction with Tidehullo Sculler and Eldrazi Displacer is blinking Tidehullo Sculler and then with its trigger on the stack, blinking it again and being able to exile a card out of their hand and then take another card.
Yep. And that's actually they started wording cards differently these days. That's why Fiend Hunter does not have the same language as Banisher Priest because they didn't want players doing that anymore. Not only because it's incredibly powerful, but also because it's a rules nightmare. It's actually very confusing to stack those triggers and to explain it to someone who doesn't know about how it works. But yeah, you can do the same thing with like a Vial and a Restoration Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool the way those work on Tidehullo.
What do we think of Affinity?
In general?
Yeah, I mean, I like Affinity. I think it's well positioned right now.
Yeah, I think it's a hell of a deck.
But in my mind, it doesn't beat an Eldrazi Displacer. It's
no.
The deck is it has a hard time beating decks with Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah, I mean, well, decks that are creature decks that are low removal, so Merfolk, Elves, Affinity, have a tough time with Displacer. Of course, Elves and Merfolk at least have some incidental ETB triggers on their guys to get value if your opponent's trying to displace lock you. Affinity gets no value out of that crap. You know, they're just if you let them get to 6 Eldrazi mana, they'll just blink your board over and over.
It just completely shuts off Lockbound Ravager.
And it gets through Etch Champion's protection because Eldrazi Displacer has Devoid.
Yeah.
Just incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But Affinity is a great deck. I do think it's really good right now. You have a great Shadow matchup, great Grixis Shadow matchup, and a solid Eldrazi Tron matchup.
Yeah.
A doable Storm matchup. You can just try to race them. Of course, Grape Shot is a pretty good control card against Affinity.
Yeah.
But I think that matchup's probably still favorable for Affinity.
I think it is too. They're just too fast.
Yeah, especially that maybe hasn't always been true, but especially against these Gifts Storm decks. Gift Storm is just not fast enough to compete with Affinity most of the time.
No. And we know the draw to like Gift Storm is, it's a lot more resilient to hate and things of that nature, but it is a step slower. And again, with Zachary, if he had attacked with that Eldrazi Displacer last turn, Robert would have been at 5, and then the next turn he blinks, and then he swings.
Right. Sure. For lethal, exactly. Yeah.
And now he's, don't get me wrong, he's still very favored right here. Even though he really hasn't played that much. He's played 5 spells, and one of them was an Ether Vial.
It's actually pretty shocking. I think Robert's really just flooded pretty hard. Robert should have a lot more removal than this.
But Zachary has too. Zachary.
Sure. What is the count here? 7 to 8. Is that right? 7
Robert,
lands to 8 lands.
Robert was on the play.
Oh, interestingly, 7 lands to 8 lands. That's also the life totals.
And and Zachary did Path to Exile Robert. So
yeah, sure. Judge.
A little bit of some takesies backsies.
Yeah. So for those of you who didn't catch that, Zach just tapped to play this Eldrazi, not tapping Cavern of Souls, and then Robert said, "That's naming Eldrazi, right?" And then Zach did some takesies backsies and decided he did want to use Cavern.
And I think it's a little bit of a mistap from Zachary in general. The first step being that you would rather have your either Shambling Men or Concealed Courtyard open instead of your Caves of Kolos. You have 2 Eldrazi Temples in play. That doesn't really matter, but at least you leave up the representation that you would be willing to cast your Path to Exile without taking a point of damage, regardless of whether you have it or not.
Of course, this way, he's got 2 Displacer activations left up, so that seems bounce draw.
So
if he gets his click back and then clicks him, puts this 3/1 flyer in play. I need to do some math, but can't he put Zach in a position where he has to block with Goyf then, right?
So he's bouncing, drawing.
And Zach is considering flicking. He has to flick the Tide Hollow, because if he doesn't, then he'll be in a really unfavorable position when the 3/1 flyer comes down at the end of turn. But I'm not sure what the judge question is. So I think Zach is considering flicking the Tide Hollow.
Yeah.
But I think he's considering double flicking it to try to do the trick we talked about earlier.
I think that would be bad, because then if Robert draws like another Cryptic Commander or Snapcaster, he can just tap his team and then kill Zachary.
Yeah. This is our resident judge, Scott, here. That's his hand you just saw. Yeah, so
Jin, Storm can go off on turn 3, but that's not always the case. It does have to have more pieces in play. Ooh, and Zachary taking that Snapcaster Mage right there. Robert left with the Serum Visions in his hand, and I mean, nothing else really. Robert does have V-Click though. That is good. All right, Robert's gonna get in there.
So I think Zach flicks. Do you flick the Goyf here? You take a damage, flick the Goyf. Oh, you don't have to take a damage. Oh yeah, you do. So don't you just win if you just take a damage, flick the Goyf, and then you swing for 8 on the swing back, right?
I think he's trying to play around Bolt, which is fine.
Well, so Robert's only card is Serum Visions, right? So
no, he drew a card for turn 2.
Oh, okay.
And
so he can Serum and possibly has a Bolt. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose that's the only reason Robert would swing like this, then, right?
Yeah, I guess no. I don't know. He wants to. I guess he wants to represent that, regardless of what he actually has. And he just drew Garruk Relentless.
Oh, jeez. Garruk Relentless. So I could be wrong. It seems like if you're Zach, you didn't need to play the second Eldrazi Displacer, because if you didn't play it, you would have had mana to leave up 3 activations.
Yeah.
Am I right there? Wouldn't you have been in a better position just having 1 Displacer and Tide Hollow in play, leaving up 3 activations of the 1 Displacer?
Well, now Robert has Lightning Bolt.
Sure.
With the Snapcaster Mage, so.
And he might get some 1/1 Death Touch Wolves. You never know.
Yeah.
I don't think Zach can afford to swing at this Garruk.
There it is. Used to be a standard powerhouse.
Yeah, card was real good. You could play it in Jund, like literal Jund. You had a Deathrite Shaman and. Are you talking about Garruk?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You were what'd you think I was talking about?
I don't know. I got real worried though. I'm like, oh, maybe he wasn't talking about Garruk. Yeah. No, Garruk was a hell of a standard card though.
Yeah, he was. He was. He was played in that. Actually, with the recent Moto flashbacks, they're playing the before this there was the Innistrad. They just did.
Yeah, I don't play Moto, but I heard about that. Yeah.
It had like the Unburial Rites deck, which had Garruk in it.
Yeah.
Had Lucky Charms, what the deck was called. It had like Boros Charm, Azorius Charm. It was like a Jeskai deck with things.
Sure.
Rev. Had the Black-Red Vampires deck.
Yep. With Falconwrath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Falconwrath and Hellrider and Thundermaw.
Oh, Hellrider. I love that. Was one of the best standards of all time.
It was a fun standard.
I played a little bit of Naya Pile then actually. I played Farseek, Restoration Angel, Thragtusk, Huntmaster. It was great.
I mean, that was just a deck right there.
Yep.
I mean, I loved Huntmaster. Huntmaster's one of my top 3 favorite cards of all time.
Yeah, same.
And Thragtusk.
Okay, so Bolt, Snap, Bolt. All right.
So Robert gets that game 1, and like we said, this game was going to be grindy.
Very grindy.
And it really came down to the wire there. A little bit. I think Zach could have, like I said, been more aggressive.
Yeah, like you said, that missed attack, you're definitely right about that, the missed attack with the Displacer.
And then I feel like like we said, instead of playing that, instead of playing the second
Displacer, just hold up 3 activations.
Just hold up 3 activations. Maybe in his mind,
you have to develop the board to present lethal sometime soon.
Yeah, I don't know that. I also didn't like that block. He just he blocked the 2/3.
Yeah. And
then he let it trade, and I didn't like that. I think he would have rather just had taken the damage or just double blinked, because he blinked the Tide Hollow. I think he just kind of let Robert get the 3/1, the Vendilion Click back. It doesn't matter. You have an Aether Vial in your hand. It'll let him target himself, get rid of a card, and then at the end of turn you can just blink, get in there, and Robert's not gonna have enough removal.
Yeah. So Robert's got a
sort of
light and shadow he just showed us. For those of you playing along at home, that is pro white black, and when you deal combat damage to a player, you can gain 3 life and get a dude back from your yard. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good card.
I mean,
I don't recommend playing it in Modern right now, but
no, but I also don't think it's like the most fantastic card against this deck.
No, I don't. Well, I think Robert might not Well, I'm sure he does realize, but a lot of those guys are colorless.
Yeah.
So the pro white, like even though Displacer has white mana,
yeah,
but it will protect his guys from path and push. Not sure if Zach even has any pushes. Do you think he has any?
Any fatal pushes?
Yeah.
I've been playing Black White Eldrazi Death and Taxes for a long time. I played push for a little bit when Death Shadow was super popular.
Sure.
Now it's gone to the wayside a little bit.
So you think Zach's just on 4 paths?
I think it's just on 4 paths. But like generally, your creatures are your removal spells. Whether it's Wasteland Strangler, I mean, Tide Hollow into Wasteland Strangler is one of my favorite Magic moves.
Yeah, take it out from under. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say one thing I do like about the Sword of Light and Shadow is that it happens to be just, given that it's a super grindy matchup, I think both players just want to go bigger than one another.
Yeah.
And even if you're not getting much value from the pro white black, getting a guy back is just going to help you outgrind your opponent here when you get a guy back from the yard.
Yeah.
So
I see a Liliana the Last Hope. Look at that. Look at that right there. That's a Liliana the Last Hope.
That is, I'm not sure how good that is here.
A, I don't think it's very good here, and B, it's kind of the mana doesn't kind of work well with that.
No, it seems really hard to cast, right? These black white, it's basically a 3-color deck, right? Because you have to have, temples are all colorless, and you've got to have colorless mana sources reliably, like your caves. So, yeah, I'm not sure. You can almost. How often does this deck have black on turn 3?
I can tell you from experience, very rarely.
Yeah.
There's 8 colorless sources in the deck.
Right.
There are, so obviously they have the 4 temples, the 4 ghost quarters. There are the...
There's the basic plains, right?
There's 2 basic plains.
2 basic plains.
1 basic swamp, unless Zachary's mana base could be a little bit different. Play 4 concealed courtyard, 4 caves of Kolos, generally 2 to 3 shambling vent, 2 plains, 1 swamp.
So you've got to have 2 of your 12 black lands, right? Is that what you're saying? There's 4 caves, 4 courtyards, and a couple of shambling vents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. So, and not that it's critical that you cast that guy on turn 3.
Sometimes like a Godless Shrine or 2. But
yeah.
Like regardless, it's not like a large percent. It's not like all your lands are colored.
Yeah, it definitely seems tough to cast that Liliana, but I suppose it is good here. Sort of like the Sword of Light and Shadow, right? It doesn't directly line up with Robert's game plan all that well. Robert doesn't have a lot of like X1s that he can kill with it.
No.
But both players are just trying to go bigger than the other. And certainly Liliana is a value engine, like a lot of Planeswalkers in the mid-range matchups. If you can stick one, activate it a few times, even threaten its ultimate, it is a really sick value play.
Beyond that, it actually minimizes the 2/3, the Renegade.
Yeah, it does make that guy so it'll have 0 power.
Yeah.
So the Death Touch won't do anything. Yeah. That's not bad.
Makes the Goy smaller.
Yep.
And really, Robert doesn't have a good way to interact with it either.
Sure. It does kill Vendilion Click too. That's not bad.
That is true. So maybe it isn't as bad as I thought. I just think it's kind of I wouldn't personally play that card just because it's so hard on the mana. The deck is white-based with black being the secondary color.
Yeah.
You generally, there's a lot of times that you don't even reliably cast Tide Hollow Sculler on turn 2.
Sure.
Because of the mana base. And it looks like we're already underway. Looks like...
yeah, had a turn 1 Renegade, turn 2 Tide Hollow.
Yeah.
Taking a Renegade.
And
Robert's playing with his hand face up here since it was revealed with that Tide Hollow.
Ooh. Zachary just drew Ghost Quarter, and he's got Leon and Arbiter in his hand.
Oh, baby. Do you think you do it? Take out the breeding pool?
Um,
That seems really good. I mean, you know he has Steam Vents Misty in his hand.
he's also got double Thought Knot Seer, though, in his hand.
Well, that seems like a fine play, too. Well, he can't. So he's got to, yeah, he's got to, if he throws away his Ghost Quarter, he'll never cast those Thought Knots.
Yeah.
He would need a Temple off the top.
Yeah.
So, as it is, he can't cast those.
He also can't
Just
cast the Flicker
anyway.
West. He's got a Path, though, which is nice. Being able to Path the the Tarmogoyf or the Renegade. Just getting that off the table. Oh, and he just drew a Temple.
Okay, well,
Well,
so if he, yeah, so play the Temple, play the Thought Knot,
yeah.
take the Spell Snare,
I mean-
I assume, or take the Electrolyze.
Ugh, I mean, just take that Electrolyze.
Yeah.
Get that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Robert's hand is not good at all.
No,
right
I
now.
think we might just see the blowout. If you play this next Thought Knot Seer next turn,
Yeah.
unless Robert has some incredible draws, he's down for the count. Now, I will say, the Death Touch here is pretty good against a Thought Knot. You can leave it back, threaten to block, and then draw your card.
Yeah, but like I said, he's got that Path.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, just Path it, get it out of the way.
And if Robert taps out, for the Serum Visions, he might not even be able to, to get his land off that path.
Yeah.
And a 2/3 Goyf is not really cutting it at this point.
Especially not against the Thought Knots here.
No.
Robert leaving a roast on top of his deck. Ooh. Down to 9.
So what's the play if you're Zach here? Do you
So
just
Robert's got one unknown.
Right. I think you just run out the second Thought Knot. Of double Temple. Oh my God. So he
Yep.
can play all the spells in his hand. So
I
run
would-
out the Thought Knot, leave up Path.
Yeah. I
Easy
mean,
money.
yeah, I would just play that Thought Knot, take the Spell Snare, and then I don't like this because then you're playing into a potential counter spell.
Okay.
But what this does is
So he's got
this takes the Robert described those two cards at the top. One of them was a roast.
Right. So now he doesn't have his roast anymore.
Exactly. So now, I mean, just get in with that Thought Knot Seer. Yeah. Yeah. It knows what to do. Oh. And you know
Brutal.
what? And then Zach's going to play that Flicker Wisp next turn. Take out Robert's blocker.
Yeah.
And I mean,
This is brutal with 2 zeros.
yeah, I mean, okay, so also, Robert's got 2 fetch lanes in hand. Made even worse by the Leon and Arbiter. I think we're going to go to a quick game 3. And these are the types of draws that the Death and Taxes deck, I mean, this is like...
That's why they're taxing you.
Yeah.
They're
this is the
Leon and
reason to
Arbiter.
play Eldrazi.
Yeah, this is the reason you can get away with playing what seems like an underwhelming 2/2 for 2.
Yeah.
Um,
Robert's mana has been hindered. Robert's draws have been hindered. The tempo, big tempo game.
we haven't seen anywhere near as much removal as we thought we would have from Robert. I know he's got it. I mean, I'm sure he's playing 4 bolts and at least 2 Electrolyze, but he's been drawing a lot of lands. Ordinarily I would say that the Bolt Snapcaster deck can fight off an Arbiter Tide Hollow Sculler deck pretty well, but
Yeah.
just not having the draws.
No. But I mean, the draws he has been keeping have been decent. He's been keeping like the 1 drop into 2 drop into Permission.
Yeah.
He's just his draws haven't lined up well against Leon and Arbiter, and that's
No.
what Zachary keeps playing. Keeps playing Leon and Arbiter, and then Robert has to tap and fetch weirdly because of it.
Sure.
So, again, the power level of a card like Leon and Arbiter being that it doesn't just always get your opponent. but it does hinder them and slows them down considerably. They have to play around that. So I think going back to the board.
So my guess is that Robert might be getting more spell snares on the play here now.
Yeah, I like that a lot better.
I know he had at least one there still, but
the funny part was he had played his 1-drop, so it wasn't good.
right, he couldn't. Yeah, that's right. He did he have that in hand when the Tidehauler Scholar was played?
I think so.
Yeah, but he played a 1-drop instead. He played the Renegade.
Yeah, I would have rather kept that up and then played the Renegade next turn and still
yeah,
got
yeah,
spell
sure,
snare.
yeah.
Maybe a little bit of misstep and then end up costing him. See, that's that right there is like the definition of modern. One small misstep in the beginning of the game can cost you an entire game. Later, you have to play around this, this Leonin Arbiter when maybe he would have been able to fetch and do other things. So, I don't know. Again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, Zachary did play back-to-back Thought Not Seer. So.
Yeah. The first Temple Rip was like, man, that's pretty good. And then the second Temple was like, all right, just pack them up.
Yeah, let's
go to the casino, Zach.
So, with Robert being on the play, though, I think those 1-drops get a lot better.
Yeah, I think so, too. Nardum Renegade really is, I mean, for one, the fact that it's a 2/3 and doesn't die in combat to Arbiters and Tidehollows seems pretty relevant. If you can, if you can make that guy into a 2-for-1, trade off with a Thought Knot after it's already killed a bear. That's a hell of a 1-drop.
One card that I haven't seen Zachary play yet that he could be. Sometimes they play 1 or 2 of them.
Blight Herder. Oh, no.
I was going to say Blade Splicer.
Oh,
you were close. It started with a B and an L.
Yeah, Blade Splicer's great. Though it's not great against the Bolt deck.
It's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
It's fine because its synergies with Eldrazi Displacer is insane.
Sure, yeah.
And then like the first strike against a 2/3 is very good.
Okay, yeah, the first strike seems great. Yeah, if your opponent's got a bunch of X3 Death Touchers, the 3/3 first strike Golem seems pretty good.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Robert's like Electrolyze. In some ways, it's great here. Some ways, it's really bad. Like if you can use an Electrolyze and a Bolt to kill a Thought Knot and a Flicker Wisp, and then draw 2 cards, one from the Thought Knot dying, one from your Electrolyze, that's great. Or if you can, just kill an Arbiter and draw a card, that's great. But when your Electrolyze by itself has to line up against a Thought Knot, it feels real bad.
Yeah.
That's how I sort of felt last game.
Yeah, I don't know. See, the problem with Electrolyze in this matchup, yes, it does hit Flicker Wisp. It hits, some 2-drops. That means you're trading a 3-drop card for a 2-drop.
Yeah.
That tempo.
Well, like I said, if you can chain it with a Bolt to handle the 4 toughness of a Thought Knot, that's great. But you're sort of forcing yourself to have a 2-card combo there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like if I were playing the matchup, I'd probably leave it in. I'm sure Robert doesn't have much better things to bring in, but yeah, it's definitely got a lot of awkward, draws for it. Is that a Kozilek return?
I think so.
That seems okay.
It seems fine-ish.
I would bring it in if I'd seen Zach play Lingering Souls, but there's probably not a Lingering Souls.
Here's my thing with Kozilek's return. There are draws from Zach where it's really good. Leonin Arbiter,
but it's sort of got the same like Electrolyze problem.
Yeah, X2 draw.
Yeah.
But Zach's gonna go Displacer into Thought Not Seer
right.
into Wasteland Strangler here,
right.
and Robert's gonna be like, oh well, this Kozilek's return is really bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Robert also playing a greedy Tectonic Edge in his deck.
What in this? Wait, is Robert really playing a Tectonic Edge? Holy crap! Yeah, that seems.
And he's got a Pia.
In the 3-color Cryptic Command deck, that seems.
Yeah.
That seems unnecessary.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of it, and Zach's gonna untap here, play a Thought Not Seer, and Robert's gonna be. Yeah, see, he's nowhere close to the Pia.
Yeah.
He does have double Goyf though. And they would be 3/4s.
My guess is, yeah, we see the Snapcaster come out
Yeah,
because
that was mine. Because then you can't get roasted.
yeah. So here, yeah, if we didn't take the snap, Robert would have played this land and
Yeah.
because that's the Spire bluff he just drew, right? Oh, well, I guess you can't.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That doesn't matter anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess Tectonic Edge right here is good if he just draws lands. Like, you can take out that temple, but...
Well, I wonder
it might be too
if
late.
so. If Zach has like, I don't think if you're Zach you even play the swamp, do you? Because if you play the swamp, then he can tech edge the temple and take you off colorless.
I think he has a colorless source in his hand.
Oh,
I don't
does
think
he?
really cares.
Okay.
I think really Robert's kind of just... Robert needs to double spell pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I don't think it matters. He's going to play this Wasteland Strangler, though, and kill this Renegade. Yeah, he's got a Caves in his hand. Is that a Ghost Quarter, too? Yeah. Looks a little flooded, though. So if I'm Zach, I'm killing this. I'm killing this Renegade. Get in here? Oh yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If he wants to trade off all 4 of his cards, he could.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what to do. Thought not. Get in there. Spank
I
him around
actually,
a little bit.
I actually don't. I think I wouldn't have mind. I guess you're playing around a removal spell there.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't have a removal spell, I think the block with all 4 there, and then you get to draw a card, actually seems just fine. But
Ugh. Like I said, Zach flooding here. He's got 3 lands and a path in his hand. Definitely not a profitable attack. But if I'm Robert, I'm getting in with those Stopper tokens. I think he should have swung with those this last turn. He's got double Thought Knot. What do you draw here? He's got a land and green card.
I think it's another Goyf.
Was that another Goyf? There's no way Robert makes this attack if it is a Goyf. But if I'm Zachary, I'm blocking one of those Goyfs. You got Path in your hand. Ooh.
Oh, so it's maybe an Electrolyze. He's gonna finish off the Thought Knot, draw 2 cards.
Oh.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Sure.
Yeah.
It is. So it was another Goyf.
Yeah.
So now if he draws and hits a land drop, he can play this other Goyf.
But the thing with that is, so Robert did that, which is good. Got rid of the 4/4, but you also traded your Goyf for that and one of the tokens, and now Zachary just took care of your other threat. If he does have if Robert does have another Goyf in his hand, obviously this is fine. But I mean, if say Zachary draws a Displacer, how good's a Displacer right here?
Oh yeah, blank the token. Never comes back.
Yeah, start bashing in there. I mean, obviously you're not gonna blink the Pia, but
yeah.
Is that Kitchen Finks?
Though if you had enough colorless mana, you could because you can take care of all the tokens.
Yeah. Disgusting. All right.
Yeah, so got the land, able to play the Goyf. It's hard to say who's ahead here. I don't think I could give an advantage to anybody yet.
I mean, I think Robert. Zachary has 2 lands in his hand, and he's got a Goyf.
Oh, are those? Does he really just have 2 more lands in
yeah,
hand?
he has 2 more lands in his hand. He has
Wow,
a swamp. And a cave.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, take the trade, I guess. I mean, there's nothing.
All right, so maybe this is where we see the Blight Herder. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
No cards are exiled. All right.
Is there really nothing exiled left?
Yeah, there's nothing exiled left.
Huh.
Robert's not gonna pay the life.
You don't have any black mana, Robert.
Ooh, are you gonna go 5? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, Robert's at 4. Or excuse me, he should be at 5.
Yeah, I think he goes from 9 to 5 there.
Yeah, he paid 4 life.
Oh,
okay.
Got it.
There was a fetch that was missed.
So Serum Visions is a good draw.
Yeah.
Is that a Tech Edge, Bolt? Is he bottoming the Bolt, really?
Is he bottoming the Bolt? I think he is. I think he figures he's on 2-turn clock. Oh, there she blows.
All right. Well, that's not bad.
If you're Robert, you tech edge just an Eldrazi Temple too. Zachary's ghost courting himself to try to thin himself on lands.
In hopes of drawing what, like a Wrath of God?
No, I think Eldrazi Displacer is still really good here, but
We were at 5.
I mean it was until he tech edged himself.
Right.
Like then he now he effectively put himself down a land. He can still play a land and blink something.
Yeah. So Displacer could have blocked a wolf, blink the Goyf, but then you still take 1 in the air and 2 from the wolf, or whichever 2/2 he decides to block. But
so, like I said, the Displacer would have been fantastic when he had all that mana. Blink the token. Blink 2 tokens. Block the Huntmaster. Or blink a token. Huntmaster obviously can't swing.
yeah, he probably doesn't swing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was flooding pretty hard for Zach.
Yeah.
It's funny. When you said when I couldn't tell who had the advantage, I saw Zach had 2 cards, and I'm like, oh, well,
He's got 2 cards in his hand.
He's got they're just 2 regular old lands.
Yep.
Well, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Pretty grindy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Robert taking that match down. I feel like the matchups actually, I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's bad for either person. I feel like it's about as close to 50-50 as we've had tonight. I think it was just really was kind of contingent on Robert drawing 3 Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
honestly,
was, well, sure, because, you're right that when you said the first trade that he made where he sacked the Thopter with Pia, it seemed nice, take out the Thought Knot, draw a card, but yeah, it actually is sort of parody for the players.
Yeah.
But having the next Goyf to be able to keep a threat on board and play it that turn because he drew a land off the Thought Knot.
Yeah, say Robert had drawn another land and or had 2 lands in his hand instead of having a Goyf. Then when he makes that trade,
it's sort of like a reset.
Yeah,
it's like somebody just cast Decree of Annihilation in EDH.
There's no more good threats on the board. Robert I agree. Those remans I didn't feel like were very good. You knew who your opponent had Cavern.
Yeah, your opponent's got Cavern.
Aether Vial too. I really don't like the Kozilek's Return that much.
I do like the Keranos a lot. That's the if you're talking about these players playing to a top deck grind, the Keranos basically wins every time here, I think.
Yeah.
Unless Zach is able to, if Zach could put up some flyers and Robert got unlucky enough to not be able to trigger the bolts on Keranos enough turns in a row, that's about the only way that you could beat that Keranos.
In theory, the Is It Staticaster is good. It does stop Flicker Wisp. It does stop.
Make sure bolts kill Thought Knots.
Yeah.
Is not bad, but
yeah. But other than that, there's really not a lot of hits in the deck.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of that Kozilek's Return, but.
Do you think Zachary brought in Bird to Forge Tender? I mean, I don't think he did. Those are the 5 cards that he did, but there's an argument to be made that
do you think he has it?
I don't know. I wouldn't leave home without them in this type of deck.
Okay.
Just makes too much sense. So, but anyways, that's our end of round 3. We'll be back with you guys for round 4.
Yeah. And again, let us know what you want to see in chat. We got a lot of cool decks still left to be discovered, so let us know. But don't say mill, because we're not putting that on.
Yeah. No.
But anything else.